This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
The U.S. says two high-profile ISIS targets killed as it begins withdrawing its troops from Kabul airport. China criticizes the U.S., accusing it of politically manipulating virus origin tracing. Egypt rolling out the first 1 million doses of locally manufactured COVID-19 vaccines. Hello and welcome to Africa Live. As always, great to have you with us. I'm Richard Nta, live in Nairobi. And for those of you joining us from across the continent and around the globe, we thank you for joining us. Let's begin now in Afghanistan, where the United States has begun withdrawing from Kabul airport and ramping up evacuations in Kabul over fears of further attacks. Thursday's bombing outside Kabul airport left 170 people dead, including 13 American service members. The U.S. also says it killed two high-profile ISIS-K targets and wounded another in a drone strike in Afghanistan's Nangarhar province in eastern Afghanistan. The U.S. Embassy in Kabul has maintained its security warning, urging citizens to avoid the Kabul airport due to potential threats. It said those at the gates should leave immediately. This comes as foreign forces wrap up their evacuations ahead of next Tuesday's deadline. Many Afghans, however, are still going to the airport hoping to leave. Obedallah Musafarzada has more.
After two big explosions that happened around the Kabul airport and killed many people there, but still there are some people waiting outside and trying to find a way and leave the country. Today is first day of the week and it's working day, but the government employees didn't go to their offices and the schools and universities are closed. On the other side, there are more and more people on the streets of Kabul and the city is crowded. Although the spokesman of Taliban has announced last week that the banks would be open, but till now, most of the banks and the main market for the money exchange is closed, and it created problem for the people.
China has criticized the United States for politically manipulating investigations into the origin of the coronavirus. It comes after a U.S. intelligence report was released that offered two conclusive results on where the virus emerged.
The so-called report is entirely politically driven and false. There's no science or credibility. The U.S. has also released a statement to smear and attack China. Beijing has expressed its strong objection to that and lodged a protest to the U.S.
The report says the virus was not developed as a biological weapon, but most agencies remain divided over two theories: natural exposure to an infected animal or a laboratory-associated incident. It also blames China for transparency over probes into the origins. The Chinese Vice Foreign Minister refuted this, saying China has cooperated with the World Health Organization.
The U.S. is accusing China of being uncooperative on origins tracing issue, and that's a lie. China attaches great importance to and actively participates in global scientific cooperation. China has invited WHO experts twice to conduct research. Earlier this year, a joint group of international and Chinese experts conducted a 28-day study in China and released the China WHO Joint Research Report. That study reached authoritative, professional, and scientific conclusions and laid a good foundation for global origins tracing cooperation. We always support and will continue to take an active part in origins tracing, but firmly oppose politicizing this issue.
Here's a review of what China has done to help the World Health Organization trace the origins of the virus.
On December 31st, 2019, China informed the World Health Organization's country office of cases of pneumonia of unknown cause detected in Wuhan. On January 3rd, 2020, China began sending regular updates about the novel coronavirus to the WHO and other countries, including the United States. On January 12, China shared with the agency information on the genome sequence of the novel coronavirus. On January 20th and 21st, a WHO delegation visited Wuhan just hours before the city was placed in lockdown. In February, a team of experts from China and the WHO completed a week-long mission to several cities in China, including Wuhan. They held a news conference in Beijing and recognized China's quick action in containing the outbreak.
China has the most experience in the world with this disease, and it's the only country to have turned around serious, large-scale outbreaks.
On January 14 this year, an international team of experts from the World Health Organization arrived in Wuhan. The team included experts from countries including the US, Australia, Germany, Japan, and Russia. On March 30, the team's joint study with its Chinese counterparts on the origins of COVID-19 was released.
Laboratory incident hypothesis is extremely unlikely and to explain the introduction of the virus into the human population.
China has also been cooperating with other countries on academic studies on the virus origin.
As of July the 19th, 225 papers on the virus origin have been published jointly by Chinese and foreign teams from countries like the US and the UK. We have established a global shared information base for the coronavirus based on the National Information Center and have collected and shared more than 2.53 million genetic sequences of the coronavirus worldwide, serving nearly 300,000 users in 177 countries and regions worldwide.
The long battle against COVID-19 has not yet come to an end. China says it has been consistent and clear in its position on finding out how the coronavirus began, that science should be the basis of all virus tracing investigations, and that it will continue to be transparent and participate in science-based efforts.
The Ministry of Social Affairs in Tunisia will next week start giving out cash transfers to some 920,000 households. The initiative aims to help low-income families deal with the economic impact of the COVID-19 crisis. It is supported by a $300 million loan from the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Adnan Shawashi reports.
The Social Affairs Minister explained that the amount of these benefits is around $100 for each needy family. The authorities launched a digital platform to facilitate online registration.
The families whose monthly revenue is less than $100 will benefit from this aid. In addition, the employees or people working for themselves and who were affected by the pandemic can get the financial aid, even if they are part of the Social Security scheme.
Mohammed Trablsi added that his department will also provide social assistance to groups that are not included in Tunisia's social safety net program, Amen.
People receiving a premium for old age and retirement, and even those without a social security scheme, have the right to get this aid. They can create an online profile and an account that will provide all information about the social and economic situation. This system will help the ministry identify the poor and needy people.
Hela is a bread seller who does not have a regular income and struggles to make ends meet.
The payment of the exceptional aid is a good initiative at this critical time. Life is difficult, especially since the outbreak of the pandemic.
Low-income groups impacted by the COVID-19 crisis wishing to benefit from state aid must register on the platform amen.social.tn from August 24th until September 23rd. The Social Affairs Department will provide technical assistance to the elderly people wishing to apply online. The Minister of Social Affairs declared that Tunisia's success in implementing the Social Protection Project to help vulnerable households deal with the economic impact of the COVID-19 crisis will encourage the World Bank to increase its support in this area. Adnan Shawashi, CGTN, Tunis.
This week, Egypt began rolling out its first locally produced COVID-19 vaccine. The jab is called Vaxera Sinovac, carrying the name of the two manufacturers that collaborated in the production. China is supporting Egypt with a team of scientists to fully transfer the vaccine production technology. Here is Adel El Mahroui with more.
After getting the green light from the Egyptian Drug Authority on August 23, Vaxera Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine is officially available this week in Egypt. Health Ministry officials announced receiving the first 1 million doses of the jab. These are among the first Egyptians nationwide to get the new vaccine.
I wasn't concerned at all. I know a lot of people who have taken the Chinese vaccines, and the reputation of the vaccines here is good. The government is widely publicizing this new vaccine, which shows its confidence in it. These millions of vaccines produced locally will help us go back to the normal life we know.
I'm the first person I know to take this kind of vaccine, so that made me worry a bit. There were doctors here, however, who patiently listened to all my questions. They have addressed all my concerns, and I felt comfortable taking it. I believe it's much better to have domestically manufactured vaccine. We save time, foreign currency, and solve the availability of the vaccines.
This is the product of the first Chinese vaccine manufacturing collaboration in Africa. Egypt says it has the capacity to produce up to 18 million doses monthly. This will comfortably cover domestic needs and fill the high vaccine gap demand in Africa.
Some people were concerned about getting vaccinated in general. That's not the case anymore. Even those who feared a shortage in supply may affect their second dosage, they are now confident the Egyptian Sinovac vaccine will be both effective and available.
Rolling out Egypt's first domestically produced COVID-19 vaccine comes at a time the country needs it the most. Cairo took a decision to inoculate some 5.5 million government and education employees in just 1 month. That's in addition to the ongoing vaccination campaign. 10 million Egyptians registered to get the jab. Of those, 8 million got at least one dose. 2.9 million residents have been fully vaccinated so far. Adel Mahroui, CGTN.
All right, the news continues on Africa Live. Here's a look at what's ahead. AMISOM resolves to accelerate joint operations with Somalia's National Army ahead of end of its mandate in December.
You're watching breaking news on CGTN.
Welcome to the world today on CGTN.
Welcome back to Africa Live. Thanks for staying with us. Military commanders of the African Union mission in Somalia have agreed to accelerate the implementation of joint operations with the Somalia National Army. The joint operations are meant to prepare the Somalia National Army to take over security responsibilities ahead of the end of AMISOM's mandate in December. CGTN's Daniel Arap Moy reports.
The African Union mission in Somalia and the Somali security forces have pledged to intensify joint military operations. As part of their strategy, AMISOM has set up mobile and quick reaction forces within their areas of operations. This, they say, will help in countering the threat posed by Al-Shabaab militants.
I personally appreciate the enduring work you do in those sectors for the sake of peace and stability of this great country, Somalia. However, there is a need to generate a joint AMISOM SNA realistic, workable, and a fixed CONOPS, which calls for an appropriate threat assessment and an honest assessment of the friendly forces.
AMISOM commanders say Somalia needs trained forces capable of holding liberated territories. While Al-Shabaab remains a threat in Somalia, AMISOM says progress has been made.
Our mandate, sir, is to degrade Al-Shabaab, which we have done since we came into Somalia. We have secured population centers, and we continue to secure these population centers, give normalcy to those population centers for the Somali people to undertake their day-to-day activities without fear.
The commanders resolved to continue to help strengthen the Somali National Army and protect the civilian population. Meanwhile, the African Union and the Somali government have been discussing what AMISOM's involvement may look like beyond the end of its mandate on December 31st. Daniel Arab Moy, CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.
A teacher at a school in the town of Stellenbosch near Cape Town is using music and dance to help make learning more interactive and fun. The business studies teacher says he is determined to ignite a spark of passion and hope in his learners, who mostly come from disadvantaged backgrounds. Renee Del Carme has more on the story.
High school teacher Florence Vermeulen has been turning heads with his upbeat method of teaching. The former drama teacher uses music and movement in the classroom to help his students better understand key words and concepts in business studies.
For me, teaching is more than just a profession. It's a passion, it's my heartbeat. And I always believe that I need to create an environment where my learners can bloom. And knowing the current generation that I'm teaching are into music, they're into dance, and that allows me to become very creative and innovative.
He believes that teaching business studies with a beat encourages these youngsters to think both critically and creatively. Mr. Vermeulen says his unique musical style of teaching has been highly successful over the past 4 years. And besides his learners' academic progress, it also helps them with discipline in the classroom.
For me, it's always important to instill confidence in learners, because when they become confident, they are competent within any subject, not just academically, but as a human being, and through that, they can develop and they can change. And when I change a child, I change a household.
When I have problems or I can't remember what I studied, I can just go back to the song and then all of it just comes back to me.
It's very exciting when you see your teacher dance, especially because business studies is such a big subject.
Mr. Vermeulen is very passionate. He's the first teacher that does that by moving and teaching us, because it really helps us a lot.
And it's hoped that this fun way of learning will also help calm these youngsters at a time when more and more school kids are struggling to cope with the stress and anxiety of COVID-19. Renee Del Carme, CGTN, Stellenbosch in South Africa's Western Cape Province.
We stay in South Africa, where customs and law enforcement officials are turning to technology in a bid to combat wildlife trafficking. 3D printed replica shark fins will be used as a training tool to help identify illegally traded species. CGTN's Travis Andrews has more with this report.
Sharks are one of the apex predators of the sea, but the hunter has become the hunted. Over 100 million sharks are killed each year, mostly for their fins, which end up on the black market. However, conservation groups have now turned to 3D printed shark fins in a bid to combat the trade in illegally caught fins.
Intention is to use these fins, the replica fins, really in two ways. The one is in training. So when we train customs and fisheries officials, we use the guides, and then we also use the replica fins to train them. It's more effective for the training that they can actually handle, look at, and compare fins of those species that they need to be on the lookout for. And then we are also building up sets and deploying them to customs officials.
The 3D printed fins are produced in South Africa and are painted to match the exact details of various species of shark. Cape Town has become a transit point for many illegally caught fins, and authorities continue to struggle to cut down on the trade. Now the conservation groups are providing training and the 3D printed shark fin kits to help assist their efforts.
The problem with real fins is that most customs agencies don't have a collection of the fins of CITES listed species, and many of them don't have any real fins at all. Real fins are difficult to keep. They can deteriorate and they smell quite bad actually. So we thought it would be really useful to develop a set of 3D replica fins.
Many other countries in Africa and abroad have also expressed interest in having their own 3D printed shark fins produced, so that they too can clamp down on illegal wildlife trafficking along their own borders. The Port of Cape Town is one of the main areas of concern when it comes to the illegal trade in shark fins, but the deployment of the 3D printed shark fin kit will go a long way in assisting port officials identify species of concern here, including the mako and blue sharks, whose fins are highly prized. That Andrews, CGTN, Cape Town.
Don't go away. We've got your sports news coming up after the break. Here's what's ahead. In sports, Man City rout Arsenal at the Etihad Stadium.
How will your world change?